Prince Magnum, channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding, Lady Mavericks Unite. In today's episode of Lady Mavericks Unite, we're going to take a look again at Project Lena. Now, as you can tell, we are getting into the spring months, the spring weather, and it's time to start thinking tuna, okay? Now, earlier, we changed the air filter out of Project Lena, and we've checked over a lot of little bits and bobs, but that's not enough for a tune-up. If you understand anything about a tune-up, we're talking like old school tune-up. You change the plugs, change the spark plug wires. With a car like Project Spirit, you would do the cap and rotor bug, you do the air filter, you change the oil, you change transmission fluid. You might even do a back flush on your radiator along with putting in brand new antifreeze. Check over the hoses, grease any fittings, you guys get the idea. However, we're not going to do all that in this video, but we are going to get the process started of getting Project Lena up to running properly. Because folks, if y'all know, it's been a bit of a struggle as time has gone on. Project Lena pull up to a stoplight, she starts running funny. I can't let her sit and idle for too long because she loads up with fuel. We need to look at different ways of getting her back up to snuff, and the best place to start is start with a tune-up, okay? Remember, who was in charge of Project Lena before really didn't do a whole lot as far as her upkeep. So it's up to us, it's all up to us, Maverick Nation, to do whatever it takes to make Project Lena run tip-top. So, in just a moment, we're going to go over some products that you can use for your project car to make her run tip-top. Alright folks, one of the first things that we need to take a look at is products that we're going to be using. Now obviously the mass flow air sensor that we're going to be working on today is right here, and the throttle body is going to be right up here. We're not going to take all this off, but we're going to get in pretty deep on Project Lena. We're going to have to remove this fitting here, pull this back, and then clean the mass flow air sensor. The other thing that we're going to have to do is once we put that back on where it's supposed to be, get everything locked down good and tight, then we're going to come up here, we're going to remove this hose clamp, disconnect it from here, and then we're going to clean the throttle body itself, which is right here. Now really quick, for those of you who would like a little bit of a history lesson, in the old days, it was carburation, and it'd be right there in the center of the engine. You take your carburetor, and you would use this stuff right here. Good old carburetor cleaner. Now, I still use carburetor cleaner on modern cars, just like Project Lena. I use it to clean her engine bay out real good. Does an even better job than degreaser, and it's good at cleaning engines, and it evaporates, doesn't mess with the electronics. But we'll talk a little bit more about this particular product as this video progresses. But since we're talking about mass flow air sensor right here, which is again what we're going to be working on today, we actually have a product specifically for mass flow air sensors. Now, why is this important? Well, it is a sensor, and it needs something that's sensor safe, which is why, because this being a sensor, we don't want to just spray carburetor cleaner on there. Ironically enough, there are some mechanics that do suggest that, but I don't, because this is not sensor safe. This is. So, because of that fact alone, this is where I recommend going ahead and getting mass flow air sensor cleaner, because it's specifically formulated for dealing with sensors. Now, they do offer, where we got this particular product, the mass flow air sensor, it came with a double pack, and this is a throttle body air intake cleaner. Now, pretty much you could just about guarantee that it's just a slightly more modern version of this carburetor cleaner. So for throttle bodies, you can get away with using carburetor cleaner, and it'll do just fine. Just remember, don't get crazy with it and just hose down the inside, because you're going to cause the engine to flood. So be kind of careful, be kind of little, don't get crazy with it. Don't get too liberal with spraying it down, because even though this does evaporate, it needs air to evaporate, and if you get it inside of a sealed system, you can kind of mess things up a little bit. So just be careful when doing that. You'll be absolutely amazed. It will do a good job. I have done this before to project clean it, but it's been a while, okay? And again, carburetor cleaner, this is amazing stuff, because like I said, I can actually show you really quick. Just by spraying it on right like that, you can actually see all the usual road grime that you'll get on engines. And for car shows, that's pretty nifty, all right? And you can actually see as it dries out, it leaves a decent matte finish, and of course, it cleans all the dirt and nasty stuff off, and again, does not affect the electronics. So for those channels out there that actually suggest doing steam cleans to a more modern engine like you would see here in Project Clean It, please stop telling people to do that. The moisture messes up the electronics in here, so please stop telling people to do that. Normally I don't involve myself in telling people to other channels what to do. You do you, but this is one time I'm going to tell you guys, please don't do that. I know there's several of them that show you how. Don't do that, okay? Moisture and electronics on a vehicle like this, I've seen it do nasty things, and the repairs that you end up having to make in doing that is pretty severe. So please don't do that. And I know some people are going to come into the comments section. Look, I'm just telling you because I've seen a lot of people do what's recommended, those other channels recommend, and it always goes bad. So please don't do that. All right, there is a couple more items that are up here that's going to be kind of hard to see until now. This is basically your wet to dry sandpaper, or emery cloth as it's sometimes called. I have a 500 grit and 1000. And we'll explain a little bit more about that as we dive into the project. So again, for part of the beginning of doing a tune-up, Lady Mavericks, I'm going to show you how to work on your mass flow air sensor and show you how to tinker around with the throttle body so you can get a good smooth throttle response. And it, again, starts moving you closer for a full tune-up. All right, Lady Mavericks. What I have here is just your basic flathead screwdriver. Now this is obviously part of a toolkit. You don't have to go that far. The way they do these particular clamps, you can use a flathead screwdriver, and in some cases, if you can find the right size socket, you can slap that on there as well, okay? And just zip, 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 zip. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this and loosen it up, okay? Now if you're concerned about possibly, electricity or anything like that, you can disconnect it from the power supply. I don't think we'll have to worry about it in this particular case. It's not like we're going to be running it or anything. So, but if you feel safer doing that, by all means do it, okay? So we're going to loosen this up, and it just slides back. That's why it does it like this, okay? Now, if for whatever reason it won't slide all the way back, don't panic, okay? You can easily just loosen here as well, and this will pop loose, as you've all seen in the when we did the one video where we cracked in and did showing you all we could do it this way. We can even add an extension to it if we want. But you guys get the general idea. We can completely remove this cover, slide everything back, because now we're loosened up, ready to go over here. And with Project Lena, she's just got the 2 screws and a couple of clips right here, so we can just pop this loose and move it completely out of the way. Which also, while we're also on the subject of doing something like this, if we had an air filter here, now would be the time to go ahead and swap it out. We could do that all at once if we wanted. And there we go. And ta-da, right there. Air filter, it's getting there. We're going to need to replace it soon. Okay? This is also the time we can check all this out, make sure everything's hunky-dory. But it looks pretty good for the most part, so we're going to go ahead and just take our mass flow air sensor stuff and just lightly spray that on there. just like that. And that'll clear everything up real quick. Alright, let that evaporate, which will take a couple of minutes. Leave this exposed to air, obviously, and then we can start beginning to slide everything back. We don't have to get in a hurry on it, okay? This is one of these times, take your time, because if we get in a hurry, what ends up happening is we end up doing a shoddy job. So take your time at this moment. Mass flow air sensor, completely done. So, in the next scene, we'll have this all back together and we'll be getting ready to work on the throttle body itself for the fuel injection. Alright, Lady Mavericks, we're back together over here now. We're over here now, and we need to disconnect the same airflow tube from the throttle body. Now, you have to be really careful because there's going to be a lot of bits and bobs that's going to connect in here, but don't panic. It's really not that hard. Again, screwdriver of some sort. Right in there. And you're just going to turn until everything comes loose. Alright? And we're going to reach over here and gently, because these tubes can get brittle over time, we're going to relieve that from this hole. Don't forget to put that back, or otherwise we'll have all sorts of codes tripping inside the car. So we're going to gently pull back until the tube is completely away. Now, if it doesn't want to cooperate with you, again, we can come back over here and disconnect this, and it'll just slide completely out of the way, which we might just go ahead and do that to show that it can be done. Why not, right? We're already here. We're already doing it. Okay? Again, don't panic. Okay? Sometimes you got to move a few things. Sometimes you got to do this sort of stuff. And some cars will allow you to do that fairly easy. Some won't. Okay? But we just easily remove all the screws. We're loose here. It's just not going to be cooperative. Sometimes they'll do that, sometimes they won't. But here we go. Very simply put. Pop these loose. And, well, looky there. See what I mean? Not so scary, is it? Now we easily move this out of the way. And there's our throttle body right there. Again, we're going to talk about the products we're going to use on here, but we're going to have to do a quick cutscene before we begin doing that. Alright, Lady Mavericks, this is our throttle body right here. Now, just like in the old days with carbureted engines, you can see where as we would turn down our throttle linkage, it opens up on the inside, allowing for more air to come in, mixing with the fuel, bigger combustion. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, we could use the throttle body intake cleaner. We'd spray it on there and it would be just fine. And as a matter of fact, you know, again, this is just something that, I mean, it was offered whenever I bought the mass flow air sensor stuff, and again, it would be just fine. However, because this is the Prince Magnum channel, we do like to step up our game a little bit. So we're going to grab our carburetor cleaner, which is going to do a much better job, and you'll see why in just a moment. And there it is. There's all that nasty stuff that I was just talking about. Look at that. Unbelievable. And right there, we could easily leave that at the moment and it would be just fine. That should be good and clean for everybody else. But again, this is the Prince Magnum channel, and now as things are beginning to setting up, I'm going to go ahead and grab some emery cloth, 500 grit emery cloth or wet dry sandpaper, and then we're just going to lightly go around here. Now, why in the world would I spend the time doing this? This will allow me to basically polish this up. Over time, heat will deform some of this. So by polishing this up, we'll get a much cleaner draw than before. Open that up, clean here a little bit, and right there. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time, and we're not looking to actually remove material, we're just looking to clean it off. Now we take our carburetor cleaner again. And ta-da! We give it a few moments and we could legit run it again. Or we could take some 1000 grit and do it again. Just as before. This is just going a little bit beyond what everybody else would do. Basically, you're stepping out of beginner stage maintenance, and now we're into, I guess you could say, intermediate. Again, opening up the butterfly and kind of reaching in and getting a deeper polish on it. And already you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to let that sit open to air for a little bit, and here in just shortly we're going to put it all back together and we're going to see how she runs. Alright, surprisingly enough, I wasn't quite expecting this, but as we kind of let Lena sit for a moment, more and more nasty stuff has come out. Basically, the products we just used have done their job and done them well. Folks, I don't need to tell you, look at that. This is what we're getting out of our air intake. And this doesn't exactly help them run pretty smooth. But we've got this nice and polished up, and she should run tip-top now. Again, just using the regular, as you know, that one tip that we gave for you Lady Mavericks, keeping paper towels on hand inside your vehicle. It's exactly what I got right here. Pretty cool, huh? But we're pretty well ready to go, I believe. So, as before, we can just start putting it back together. We'll go ahead and we'll slide our air intake tube into place. While we're at it, we'll line up our little tabs, and there we go. Start these screws here, and wouldn't you know it, everything's back in place. How easy is that? Now, in the old days, it was even easier than this, but this just goes to show, in the short amount of time, actually it would have taken me less time if I hadn't talked it to death, but it had taken me less time to do this video if I wasn't videoing it. And it'd probably take all of you, with a little bit of practice, even less than that. So Lady Mavericks, now that we have this this little bit of the project back together, we'll double check everything, make sure everything's good and snug. Again, that's how easy it is. We did this in just a short amount of time. So now you Lady Mavericks, even if you don't do this yourself, at least you know how it's done, so you won't get ripped off at a shop when it comes time. But, $1,000,000 question, how does she run? Well, I guess we're just going to have to clear everything out of the way and find out for ourselves. Not bad. Now the reason why she had a hard start to begin with is because we did blow a lot of stuff inside that fuel injection system. So it's going to take a moment for her to clear that out, which that's fine, because that stuff will also help break up any possible deposits that were inside there to begin with. So just by doing, even if you Lady Mavericks out there don't go as far as we did by going in there and doing the polishing job, even by spraying off the throttle body injection and your mass flow air sensor, you're already that much closer to getting a complete tune-up for your more modern day vehicle. Not bad. So, let's get ready to do our recap. Well, there you have it, Lady Mavericks. Now, you ladies now know how to service the throttle, the throttle body for your fuel injection system and your mass flow air sensor. So, again, I know some of you out there may not go to the level that we did. Some of you may go ahead and just do the mass flow air sensor, and you might do the throttle body injection just by spraying some products on there. You've got a couple of products to work with, but make sure that when you do your mass flow air sensor, again, I know there's some mechanics out there that'll tell you it's okay to use carburetor cleaner. I don't suggest that. Carburetor cleaner is not exactly sensor safe. Now, throttle body, yeah, you can use carburetor cleaner there, or you can use the stuff that's recommended now. And the stuff, the small cans that we got, you know, for the mass flow air sensor and the throttle body, that came from Walmart, and it was like $5. So there you have that. Now, again, there might also be some of you out there, it's like, well, now I know how to do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to go ahead and do it. Now you know what is entailed in it, so when you take your vehicle to a shop and you want it done, you know what they're supposed to be doing. And it saves you from getting ripped off. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of great mechanics out there that will do exactly what we did today, but there's a lot of them that won't. And they'll tell you that they did and take your money, and it didn't get done. So, there's a little tip in this whole video you guys could take with you to the bank. And you already heard her run. She runs pretty good now. And that's pretty doggone good by me. So, from here, I guess the best thing I could tell y'all is if you would like to become a member of the High Mileage Club, get over to the Patreon and check us out. For $1 a month, all proceeds go back into the project cars and help bring you guys videos just like you've seen today. But maybe you'd like something to hold in your hand. Maybe you'd like some cool merchandise. Well, we can get you that too. So, with that cool merchandise, you get over to Teespring, and there's all sorts of stuff to choose from. And eventually, hopefully, we can get some Project Lena logo merchandise in there for all of you. We're looking at possibly getting that done without the help of someone that we don't mention here on this channel anymore. But beyond that scope, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourselves. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.